friends, my name is Chelsea. Today we're going through all of the books that I read in April. So there are 5 books that I read in April. It was a pretty slow month for me, but that's kind of par for the course these days. I was trying to focus on reading physically instead of listening to audiobooks, but most of the books that I am about to mention I did end up listening to, and I was working my way through one book all month, and I have just missed the deadline for putting it in this video, so it will be in my May wrap up instead of this one. So these are not in any order of how or when I read them. This is just kind of how I ended up writing them down. I did do the Magical Readathon Orilium this month, hosted by Book Roast, and I love doing this readathon. I was using it to try and get back into reading a little bit more this month. So the first book that I'm going to mention that I listened to was The Opal Deception by Ewan Colfer. And this is, I believe, the 4th book in the Artemis Fowl series. And I know that that's such a backlog, but I'm working my way through it right now. I never got to read it. If you haven't read any of the Artemis Fowl series, I completely recommend them. Ewan Colfer is such a clever writer. The series itself, I won't go into the 4th book, but the series itself is about Artemis Fowl, who is a boy genius. This is a middle grade series, and he discovers the Fae world and tries to out them to the human world. And it's all about his antics and working against the Fae, and it's just such a funny storyline. And I read this book for my shape-shifting class, which was to read a book with a creature with claws on the cover. Also, I could very well be totally butchering that author's name. Please let me know if I am and how to correctly pronounce it. The next book that I read in April is called Spindlers by Lauren Oliver. This is another middle grade, and I read this one for the conjuration class, which was to read a book with a source of light on the cover. So this is about Liza, and Liza has a brother named Patrick, and one morning she wakes up and realizes that his soul has been stolen by the Spindlers, which are evil creatures from the below. And she goes on this epic adventure to the below and realizes a lot of things about herself, loyalty and love, and there's an underlying theme of hopefulness through the entire thing. And I did really enjoy this book. I thought the themes were just really important to cover, if a little obvious throughout, but Liza's character is so tenacious and she grows and learns a lot throughout this story. So I really enjoyed it. The next book that I read in April is by one of my absolute favorite authors, Neil Gaiman. I listened to M is for Magic, his short story collection, for my animal studies quick read prompt for the Magical Readathon Orilium. And as with all of Neil Gaiman's books, I loved this. I loved seeing all of the original stories that he wrote that transformed into some other ones that he's written. Like there is a chapter from the Graveyard book in there that was just a lot of fun to go back to. I always love to return to Neil Gaiman and see how his mind works. He's just such an incredible author. So that one was a lot of fun to listen to. The 4th book that I read for April was The Reckoning in Zodiac Academy. That's the 3rd book in the series. And this series I actually picked up because the main characters are twins, and I'm a twin, and I kind of wanted to see what fantasy books were out there that were revolved around twins. And also it's Zodiac Academy, so it relates to that theme quite a bit, which I really enjoy and was really in the mood for when I started this series. So the series itself is about these twins who are orphans, and they get whisked away from the human world into the Fae world and are told that they are the dead monarch's children and that they have to graduate from this brutal academy to claim their inheritance. And along the way, they meet the 4 celestial heirs who are currently training to be in charge of the Fae world and run the Fae world. It's a bully romance, and so they go through a lot of trials and manipulations and work their way into being accepted at this academy and learning how to be Fae when they grew up in the human world. So I've been really enjoying this series. I love the twin element. I love the bully romance, and I am so excited to get into the future books and see what happens. I read this for my astronomy class, and that was to read a book at the top of your TBR. I've been so excited excited to get to this. I waited a month for my Audible credit to come out so I could listen to it. And the final book that I'm going to talk about was Origins of an Academy Bully, and that is a novella that comes before all of the Zodiac Academy books, and it's about the makings of Darius, one of the celestial heirs, and kind of a little bit of background into some big event that happened before any of the books took place, even though it's kind of referenced in the first couple of books. So that was really interesting to go back and see what happened and get a glimpse into his mind and into Orion's mind and the history that they have together. This was an ebook, so I read this on my phone real quick, and I read this one for my elemental studies class, which was to read a book under 100 pages. It was very quick read, really enjoyable. I love getting the background history on the other characters in the book, where you learn a lot about the twins and what they've been through, but to see the other side and to see the history was really good insight, I thought. And those two books are by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. All right, guys, I know this was a quick one. I didn't read a lot in April. Hopefully May will be a little bit longer. We'll see. So I hope you enjoyed. I had a good time reading this month. I think it was a good reading month overall. I had a lot of books that I really enjoyed. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment below. Let me know what you read this month, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, friends.
Keep it cool with you, I feel like breaking rules. On the edge, looking out with no parents.